Everybody see my screen okay?
Yes.
So for those of you who weren't on the call this morning, I was asked to give a perspective on not only what we're seeing out there across our user base, but also because my training is all in the business world, in the venture capital, and a lot of my connections and friends and classmates are still in that world. I still feel like I have got about a half a foot in that world, and so what I was asked to do is speak a little bit to how we think the broader environment is likely to impact us in the coming months. So just as a quick agenda, we're just going to run through the current situation. We're also going to talk about what is around the corner, and then what the implications are for animal welfare organizations. And then finally, some of our ideas for what it is that we can do about it. So what we've seen, the chart on the bottom illustrates this really well. What we've seen is that right around the time that the lockdown started, there was this incredible response from communities. And so, we get tickets now. Our customers asking us can you please just turn off the applications? There's too many. We can't do anything. We can't process them. In other cases, I have a screenshot here that's right out of our application of one of our customers, 3,264 unread applications. And so there really has been this incredible surge of interest from fosters. So here this is change over time. You'll see that the foster applications are still up 3 to 4 times, even after that initial surge. Adoption applications are up 2 times. So an unbelievable response from all the communities that our users serve. This is not just interest in fostering and adopting. We have an in-checkout donation capture, and it's been running for years. And we've steadily improved it bit by bit. We've never seen anything like this before. We've never seen a jump like this ever. And what it means is that when people are adopting, they're really stepping up. They're feeling extra generous, and this is meaningful. The other thing that we've seen a lot of is, I think, a really admirable shift inside the user base towards keeping adoptions going and doing it by taking advantage of technology to do mobile and remote adoptions, so that you're not passing paper and pens and things like that back and forth. As you guys know, there's been a lot of press, wide-ranging press. On this page, we have TMZ, Wired, and USA Today, and the picture that they're painting is pretty rosy. Also, the federal government and the states have reacted in an unprecedented way. We've never seen stimulus and intervention on this scale in the history of the United States. And the stock market, despite everything that's going on, is pretty happy about this. So there was obviously a massive initial crash, and then this great rebound. Now, I believe that all of those things that I just discussed are sort of clouding the picture about what's really going on out there and what is really likely to impact us going forward. So the first thing is, even though the market is not down too high, not down too far from its high, we're seeing job loss on a scale that we've never seen. And so this chart here, those gray bars are recessions. And you can see that recessions tend to produce little spikes in this line. And then you see this basically vertical line. And this chart's out of date. I couldn't find a more up-to-date chart. But that chart really ought to stretch all the way up to 13 million, that line. So we're clearly in territory that nobody's ever seen before. This is terrifying. And really scary. And the reason that is particularly important to us in animal welfare is that changes in living situation are among the top reasons that animals get relinquished to shelters. So this is our own data. It's across hundreds and hundreds of thousands of records. And what you'll see is that when jobs change, people often need to change their housing situation. They may need to move in with somebody else. Somebody else may need to move in with them. They may need to change geographies. And in some percentage of those cases, people are not able to keep their animals. And that's why this shows up here. And so what I would say is, or what I fear, is that if we go back to this math and we see that we have already lost 30 million jobs, 18%, 19% of all jobs in the US are lost right now. And it doesn't take much, unfortunately, to imagine that of those 30 million people, some meaningful percentage of them own pets, right? The household average is something like 66 or 67% of households. And then some percentage of those people will have a living situation that will change. And then some percentage of those people will not be able to retain their pet after the change. So it's not hard to imagine 1 million or more animals coming into the system over the next few months. And a shock like that will really put our system under strain, because our system has a sort of a certain pace of processing and intaking and outcoming and moving to foster and so on. And this is a surge unlike anything we've ever seen before. Now, I would argue, sorry for the jumping around, I would argue that we haven't seen this yet, but it's coming. So there were federal interventions that basically protected people's housing, right? And so you've got eviction relief. In some cases, you've got mortgage relief. And so we know that people haven't yet had to do this yet, but it's coming. So 120 days from when this was put in place, you should expect that there's going to be a lot of change out there. It could start even sooner as people anticipate no longer being able to meet rent payments or mortgage payments. Now, I'll just caveat here that this is always a risky place to be. Predicting is always risky. You risk, looking alarmist. We sent out the email that you see here on March 27th, and it was polarizing. Honestly, there were some people who said, thank you, this needs to be said, and there were other people who said, why pile on with the negativity? We've worked really hard in animal welfare to change the narrative from negative and fear to positive and celebrating our wins. And both of those are very valid reactions to what we are seeing. In my opinion, it is worth taking the risk to be wrong in order to prepare for the worst, right? So this is hope for the best and prepare for the worst. Now, the most important thing, of course, is if this flood of animals, of owner relinquishments is coming, what can we do about it? And the first thing that we would suggest is to capitalize right now on the fact that people are not acting the way they have been acting for years, right? They are feeling generous. They're feeling like they want to help. And so this is a great time to reach out to your existing community, to your existing Facebook page, your email lists, your donor base, and make a COVID-specific plea to them. The second thing that I would say is it's really important to make people feel valued when they do step up, particularly if they're new folks that you don't already have a relationship with. So what we know is this surge of applications means that you are now getting applications from people who didn't apply before. They're new to you. And if this sits, and it's clearly easy to feel overwhelmed, but if this sits in a month or two when you really need them, if they don't feel like you appreciated what they did, they're less likely to step up. And so we would say to do whatever you can to make these folks understand that you appreciate and that, even though you may not have an animal for them now, you may soon. The next step that we would say is this is an opportunity to grow your network. And frankly, it's going to be a necessity. And so the idea, of course, would be to grow this network permanently. What we don't know is whether that third ring, that darkest blue ring, will stay once this is all done. but certainly some of those folks ought to be able to be brought into the fold longer term. So this is another way of thinking about this. This is sort of roughly speaking the way a foster network looks right now. And when our customers saw this coming, saw these lockdowns coming, knew that they would really want to try to clear the shelters as much as they could, they did what people always do, is push them to the trusted foster network, push them to people you already know, they're already vetted, they're onboarded, they're trained, you can trust them. And what we would say is, if this flood is coming, this will not be enough. And what instead you need to do is empty that inner ring of trusted fosters, because those are the ones you can tap quickly, and instead challenge those fosters to help extend the ring and push those animals that they're fostering outward into this darkest blue network of fosters. They may be brand new, they may not be vetted, they may not be onboarded, but this is where, if you delegate appropriately, you can take advantage of a sort of a mentorship. Some people call it a big brother, big sister. Maddie's has wonderful resources on this front if you'd like to try to implement a program like this and don't have it yet. But this is not going to be easy, but we would say this is going to be a critical step to basically create capacity now by extending the reach of your network. Just to revisit, the steps we can take here are: seize this surge of interest and support, make sure that people feel valued once they've done that for you, grow your network now before you need it, before this 120 days ticks off, delegate to manage scale, and then prepare for the flood. And I said this before, but I really hope I'm wrong about this, but there is virtue in preparing for it either way. And Rory, I'm very happy to take questions if that's the way you'd like to go, or not. This is my email address. Anybody on this call, feel free to reach out to me if you have specific questions about this. If there are programs here that you think you're doing really well, or programs here that you think you're not doing well and you'd like help, we can connect folks with one another so that they can get the information that they need. You don't, of course, don't have to be a Shelterluv customer. So this is open to anyone here. Feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to help.
Awesome. That's great.